this measure does legalize marijuana, what is the foreseeable consequence of that in terms of employers being allowed to either dismiss or not dismiss employees for having residual THC in their system or going out on lunch break and having a joint or whatever?
That's a very interesting question. What are the implications for employers? THC is unique among drugs of intoxication or abuse in that it's fat soluble. And what that means is you really can't easily tell, like you can with oxycodone or booze or meth, whether somebody is intoxicated by just getting a urine test. Because a person who smoked marijuana regularly and stopped 4 days ago could show it positive. The answer is really federal. The federal courts have held that because the Controlled Substances Act continues, and again, I advocated against this 10 years ago, making marijuana in the same category as heroin and LSD. No medical use, no allowed. Because of that, and because of the way insurance companies are not based in Oregon, employers are allowed to discharge people even if this thing passes. And frankly, unless there is a change at the federal level, unless the Controlled Substances Act is amended, or unless federal court decisions change, that particular part will not be directly affected, and marijuana users will not be a, quote, protected class.
It's a very real problem right now. There are over 1 million people who are legally using medical marijuana, including thousands here in Oregon. You may have caught the front page story in the New York Times of a young man who was a paraplegic, who was fired from his job for smoking marijuana after hours to deal with his back spasms. Again, I note what that Nate Jackson, the tight end, who was talking about his concerns about the pain medication he was given in the NFL, when many of the players self-medicate using marijuana. What we need is to have a test that deals not with a trace of THC that doesn't affect your ability to work or to respond in terms of your motor skills. We need to have a test for impairment. And because we have this mindless jihad against marijuana, hard to get research marijuana, and it's all about the evils and not about potential benefits, we don't have a good test for impairment. We need that right now because of people who have medical marijuana. And that's one of the things that I hope comes out of an adult conversation and getting our priorities straight. Because just because somebody has had a joint or maybe been around intense secondhand smoke 2 or 3 days ago doesn't mean that they should be fired from their job. We need to get our arms.
We probably only have time for one more question before we have a break here and turn off the televised portion of our program. And then if our speakers are willing to wait for a few minutes afterwards, even after the television cameras go off, maybe we can take some more. Bob, do you have a final question?
Thank you. Bob Zigan, City Club member. Assume I have a rental property here in Salem, and my lease prohibits the use of marijuana in or on my property, along with smoking, cats, dogs, you name it. Is there anything in what you're proposing that would prevent me from imposing that lease?
Measure 91 specifically speaks to that and specifically says landlords can continue to borrow. Whether you think that's a good idea or not, Measure 91 specifically addresses that. And I guess news would not be good for somebody who wanted to either have a medical marijuana card or wanted to use marijuana legally. You're right.
Maybe another real quick one. Is there a really quick one? Larry, you have someone?
Well, given that marijuana is legal in Washington, why should all the people in Oregonian be going to Washington to buy it, and Oregonian loses out on the tax money?
Well, there's a certain amount of marijuana tourism. When I went to Colorado, I went to a couple shops. Not buying. And when I could afford it, it's too expensive. It's $35 a gram. In fairness, the Oregon measure has a much, much lower tax rate specifically so that it will compete with so-called black market marijuana. So, yeah, I'm sure people from Idaho and California would come over and buy it here. In fact, in Colorado, the expected tax revenues are about half of what they expected because really, because again, Congressman Blue and I think both and I agree, marijuana, it's called weed for a reason. I mean, it's not like brewing your own whiskey. And so it's not that hard to make. The question is going to be how many people are going to buy at the stores, how many people are going to be willing to pay the amount, the extra amount for presumably some degree of oversight. I think that's really highly speculative. And by the way, that 20% that goes, or the 35% goes to cops, that's not really true. 15% go to the state police, and 20% go to local cops, but only for marijuana law enforcement at Measure 91. So I can tell you right now, Mike, we're spending this much money on marijuana enforcement, so we're not going to get to be able to use it.
There's no good reason that people should have to leave the state to buy legal marijuana. And if Measure 91 passes, they will have that right, and Oregon will get whatever tax revenue is our due.
I think with that, it's time to close the televised portion of our meeting. Cindy, can I turn it back to you?
Thank you all for being so civil. We're going to close out our formal part of the program, and the caterers do need to get out of here. And so we might be able to hold it open 5 minutes. Can we hold it open 5 minutes for questions afterward? But I want to thank the video audience, both online and what is televised by CCTV. And I want to thank Blue Stick Catering for catering today's luncheon. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. So we'll pause for a minute, and I'm going to ask Alan Pollock to come up for the memberships, and we'll continue the question for about 5 minutes.
We've only got 5 minutes here.
5 minutes.
Okay.
So
All right. We'll do this real quick. If you're a member and you bring a guest, you get to potentially win a prize. So bring a guest next week, but more importantly, it helps to grow our membership. So this week's winner is Cheryl Gripstoff.
thank you, Cheryl, and we will have to be quick because I promised Lucy would be out. We'd be finished. So 3 o'clock.
And our speakers are both on very tight schedules, so you can grab them on the way out. Has anybody got a quick one here before they head to the door? Dave? Oh, Bob.
This is a question for the audience, I guess. Isn't this one of the best debates we've had in the last several years?
Hi, this is Rick Humphreys with Luminary. I'm wondering what the discussion is at the federal level, because a lot of the statistics you quoted apply to other states. So obviously it's a larger problem nationally than we experience just here in Oregon. Are we talking about it at all?
Yes. We have over a dozen pieces of legislation. We've had 5 consecutive votes on the floor of the House that have had the federal government do less interference, medical marijuana, hemp. All of these bills, all these votes were bipartisan in nature, and so there is a change that's underway. The reference that was made to the insanity of forcing legal marijuana businesses to be all cash is being addressed. We have bipartisan legislation on that, and we're working with the administration. So there is change that's taking place at the federal level. The states are driving it, and I personally think that if Oregon passes it in November, we're going to see the dominoes fall much more quickly. But we can give you all the stuff that's happening on the federal level.
I think we've got speakers who need to head to the door.